The ship dropped out of light speed so fast that my stomach tried to leave my body. Alarms did not blare. No one shouted warnings. That silence was worse than any siren, because it meant we had arrived exactly on schedule, exactly where we were expected, and somehow that felt like walking into a trap with the door held open for me. I gripped the edge of my seat and looked at Leora. Her violet eyes were fixed on the viewport, and for the first time since I had known her, she looked afraid. "She already knows we are here," Leora whispered. She knew before we knew. "Your mother?" "My mother does not wait for anyone. Waiting is beneath her. If she is waiting, it means she chose to." I did not like the sound of that. I am Dorian Blake, a man who used to fix radio towers in a small coastal town, a man who once thought the strangest thing in his life would be a hurricane season. Then the sky opened, and a golden ship the size of a mountain hovered over the ocean, and everything I thought I knew about my place in the universe folded up like a paper boat in a flood. Leora found me during the first week of contact. She was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not even supposed to be near the human delegation. She told me later she had snuck aboard the shuttle just to see what a human looked like up close, and instead of running when she saw me, I offered her a cup of coffee. She said no species she had ever studied did that. Offer a stranger a warm drink instead of a weapon. That was months ago. Now she was the reason I was strapped into a chair on an imperial cruiser, falling toward a planet with 3 moons and a palace that could swallow entire cities. "Why does she want to see me?" I asked. "She did not ask to see you," Leora said. "I asked her to let me bring you. There is a difference, but I do not think my mother agreed simply because I asked." The ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Outside the window, clouds the color of rust parted to reveal a city built into the side of a mountain range. Towers rising higher than anything human hands had ever built. Silver bridges stretching between them like threads of a spider that had grown bored of small webs. I had seen pictures. Pictures did not prepare me. My chest tightened, not from fear exactly, but from the sheer size of what I was looking at. It made me feel very small, and very far from home, and very aware that every step from here forward was a step no human had taken before. We landed on a platform outside the palace. The air smelled like ozone and something sweet, like flowers I could not name. Guards lined the walkway, tall and silent, their armor catching the orange light of the setting sun. None of them looked at me. That felt more unsettling than if they had stared. Leora took my hand. Her fingers were cold. "Whatever happens in there," she said, "do not bow, do not kneel, do not lower your eyes. I know it will feel wrong. Every instinct in your body will tell you to make yourself small in front of her. Do not." "Why?" "Because she is testing you before you even open your mouth. If you bow, she will already have her answer, and it will not be the answer I want her to have." I nodded, though my heart was pounding hard enough that I worried she could hear it. We walked through towering doors that opened without anyone touching them, into a hall so vast that the ceiling disappeared into shadow above us. Pillars carved with symbols I could not read rose on either side, each one glowing faintly, as if lit from within by something alive. And at the far end of the hall, on a throne that looked more like a wave frozen in dark metal, sat the Empress. She was not what I expected. I do not know what I expected. Something monstrous, maybe, or something so alien my mind would refuse to process it. Instead, she looked almost peaceful. Her skin held a deep blue sheen, her eyes a pale gold that seemed to hold centuries behind them, and she watched us approach with the stillness of someone who had already seen this exact moment play out in her mind 1,000 times. She was not surprised. She was not curious in the way you are curious about something new. She was watching the way you watch a familiar story reach its familiar ending. "Mother," Leora said, her voice steady despite the tremble I could feel through her hand. "This is Dorian." The Empress did not respond right away. She let the silence stretch, let it grow heavy, let it press against my chest like a hand testing whether I would flinch. I did not flinch. I held her gaze because I did not know what else to do, and because some part of me, the part that used to climb radio towers in storms because someone had to, refused to look away first. "You already knew he was coming," Leora said, when the silence became unbearable. "How?" I have watched this species since your father's grandmother sat where I sit now, the Empress said. Her voice was low, resonant, carrying easily across the enormous hall without effort. I did not know his name. I did not know his face. But I knew a moment like this would come, because it always comes, with humans. What do you mean? I asked. My voice sounded small in that enormous room, but I made myself speak anyway. The Empress rose from her throne. She did not walk toward us quickly. Every step was deliberate, unhurried, the way a predator moves when it already knows the outcome of the hunt and simply wants to enjoy the walk. Your species has been observed for longer than you understand, she said. Long before your radios began scattering signals into the dark, before your satellites, before your wars that you still call great as if there could be such a thing. We watched cities burn and rebuild. We watched empires rise on your world and collapse into dust, only for new ones to rise from that same dust within a generation. We expected, as every civilization before yours has taught us to expect, that eventually you would break. Break? Bow, she said. Kneel. Accept your place beneath something larger. Every species we have encountered reaches a point where they understand the scale of what surrounds them, and they fold. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the correct response to standing in front of something vastly more powerful than yourself. She stopped a few feet from me. Up close, I could see faint markings along her collarbone, patterns that shimmered faintly, like the northern lights I used to watch from my back porch as a boy. You have not folded, she said. None of you have. We destroyed one of your unmanned probes as a demonstration 3 years before first contact, expecting a plea, an apology, an offering of submission. Instead, your scientists built 2 more and sent strange messages attached to them. Do you know what one of them said? I shook my head. It said, "Try again." For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker behind her golden eyes. Not anger, something closer to fascination, the way a person looks at a puzzle that refuses to solve the way it is supposed to. I did not bring my daughter's companion here to threaten him, the Empress continued. I brought him here because I wanted to see, with my own eyes, what kind of creature looks at a throne like this and does not lower his gaze. Leora's grip on my hand tightened. I could feel her holding her breath beside me. I am not trying to prove anything, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. I did not come here for a test. I came here because Leora asked me to, and because she matters to me, and because hiding from you would not have kept either of us safe if you truly wanted us gone. A practical answer, the Empress said, not a proud one. Interesting. I am not proud of standing here, I said. I am terrified if I am honest. Your ships could turn my entire planet into a memory before we finish this conversation. I know that. I have known that since the moment I saw your ship over the ocean. But being afraid does not mean I have to pretend I am smaller than I am. My grandfather used to say that fear and respect are not the same thing, and courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing what to do while you are still afraid. The hall was silent except for the faint hum of the glowing pillars. The Empress studied me for a long moment, longer than felt comfortable, and I forced myself to hold still, to keep my shoulders back, to keep breathing evenly, even though every part of me wanted to look at the floor. Do you know why my daughter brought you here, Dorian Blake? She asked finally. I assumed to introduce me, formally. She brought you here because she believes you are proof of something, the Empress said. She believes your species deserves a place among the stars, not beneath our boot. And she believed that if I met you myself, I would understand why she believes that. She turned to Leora, and for the first time since we had entered the hall, her voice softened, just slightly, the way a mother's voice does, even across species, even across the vast unknowable gap between 2 forms of life that evolved a galaxy apart. You risked a great deal bringing him here without my formal invitation, she said. I know, Leora said. I would do it again. The Empress turned back to me. Tell me something, human. If I told you right now that I intended to harm your world unless you knelt before me this instant, in front of my entire court, what would you do? The question hit like a physical weight. Leora's hand trembled in mine. I understood, in that instant, that this was not a hypothetical question meant to test my nerve for sport. This was the real question beneath every question she had asked since we walked into that hall. I thought about my town on the coast, the radio towers I used to climb, the sound of waves at night, my mother's kitchen, the ordinary small life I had before the sky opened. I thought about all 7 billion people who had no idea their entire future was balanced on a conversation happening in a throne room they would never see. And I thought about what kneeling would actually mean, not just to me, to every human who came after me, forever, in every record this empire kept. I would ask you what kneeling actually protects, I said slowly. Because if you are the kind of ruler who destroys a world simply because one man refused to bend his knees, then kneeling would not save us anyway. You would find another reason eventually. But if you are the kind of ruler who respects a species based on how they behave when they are afraid, but still choose to stand honestly in front of you, then kneeling would only prove I am the wrong kind of representative to send you. The silence that followed felt like it lasted an hour, though it was probably only a few seconds. Then the Empress laughed. It was not a cruel sound. It was warm, surprised, almost delighted, the kind of laugh that escapes someone who has been waiting centuries for a conversation that finally went somewhere unexpected. Every advisor I have, she said, still smiling faintly, every scholar, every general, every diplomat who has studied your species for decades, told me the same thing. They said humans posture because they do not yet understand the true scale of what surrounds them. They said once a human truly understood, truly felt the weight of an empire that spans 1,000 worlds, they would fold like every species before them. She looked at me, and something in her expression had changed, something that looked almost like respect, though I was cautious not to trust my read on an expression built on a face so different from my own. You understand the scale, she said. I can see it in your eyes. You are not foolish. You are not blind to what surrounds you. And still you did not fold. No, I said. I did not. Why? I thought about it honestly, because I did not want to give her a performance, only the truth. Because folding does not actually make anyone safer, I said. It only makes the folding easier to accept next time. My people have made that mistake before, among ourselves, long before you arrived. We learned, slowly and painfully, that bending because something is powerful is not wisdom. It is just fear wearing wisdom's clothing. I would rather stand honestly and be wrong about the outcome than kneel and be safe for reasons that were never really about safety at all. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to Leora. You were right to bring him, she said. Though I will remind you, privately, that risking a diplomatic incident of this scale without my knowledge was reckless, and we will discuss that later, as mother and daughter, not as Empress and subject. Oh yes, mother, Leora said, and I heard the relief flood through her voice. The Empress returned her gaze to me. I will not pretend this changes everything, human. Trust between our peoples will not be built in a single conversation in a throne room. There are councils who will still argue for caution, for control, for the old ways of ensuring loyalty through fear. I cannot undo centuries of precedent with one meeting. I did not expect you to, I said. But I will tell you this, she continued. I came into this hall today prepared to see a frightened creature perform bravery it did not feel, the way so many have before you. Instead, I found someone honest about his fear, and honest about his choice anyway. That is rarer than you know, even among my own people. She extended a hand toward me, palm up, an unfamiliar gesture I did not immediately understand. Among my people, this is not a request for submission, Leora whispered quickly beside me. It is an offer of standing. Take it as an equal, not as someone reaching up to something greater. I placed my hand in the Empress's palm, not below hers, not above, simply beside it, the way I would shake hands with anyone I respected back home. The Empress's golden eyes held mine, and for the first time since we had entered that vast hall, I felt something other than fear settle into my chest. Not comfort exactly, not safety, but the quiet, solid feeling of having stood exactly where I needed to stand, and having not moved from it. Perhaps, the Empress said softly, almost to herself, your species will be the one that finally teaches this court something it forgot, a very long time ago. What is that? I asked. That strength is not always the loudest voice in the room, she said. Sometimes, it is the quiet one who refuses to look away. Behind her, through the towering windows of the hall, the sun had fully set over the mountain city, and the 3 moons had begun to rise together, casting pale light across the silver bridges and glowing towers. It should have felt like the end of something impossible. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something neither of us fully understood yet. Something that would take more than one conversation, more than one throne room, more than one frightened human refusing to kneel. But it was a beginning, and for the first time since the sky had opened over my quiet coastal town, that felt like enough. Leora squeezed my hand, and this time it was not out of fear. "Welcome to my home, Dorian," she said. I looked around the vast hall, at the glowing pillars and the silent guards, and the Empress, who had already been waiting, and I understood that home, whatever that word meant now, had just gotten a great deal larger than I ever imagined it could be.